A lot of people look at your lectures and they say the same thing. Sheikh, Mufti Menk is funny. He says jokes a lot. Some people love it. Some people don't know how to look at it. And some people, they're a bit sarcastic about it.
They might hate it.
They might hate it.
Yeah.
Tell us, Sheikh, why do you say jokes in your lectures?
That's an amazing question. I tell you something, when I was young, we grew up with a lot of fear of the scholars, the imams in the masjid. There was a distance, even though my father, an imam and a scholar and a mentor, but very strict. And initially, it was so difficult to communicate. I saw a clear gap between the scholars and the masses. And wherever I went at the time, I always saw that gap. And I always told myself that I'd like to bridge this gap. There needs to be something. You know, we scholars are looked at as harsh people who never smile. They're always attacking people. You know what? You got to say a thing or two, especially for the newer generations. And I think I'm probably similar to you in age, if not maybe a little bit older. Wallahu a'lam.
A little bit older, Sheikh.
There we go. So what I want to say is, if you know, as we grew up, it was very different. And in fact, the world is becoming more and more filled with so much of difficulty, depression, hardship, anxiety. The last thing you want is the person calling you towards Allah doing the same thing to you. So I say, you know what, keep it light. And, you know, I'll still crack a joke, a little bit of wit, a little bit of banter now and again. If you get it, you get it. If you don't, you don't. Mostly there is a lesson behind whatever joke might have been cracked, subhanallah. Sometimes it may be a big lesson and sometimes it's a smaller lesson. But yeah, that's primarily the reason why I joke, you know, break the ice, get the people to realize, you know what, this guy is calling me towards Allah, but he's doing it in a beautiful way. I can understand, I can relate, I remember a thing or two. They will listen to more things. The idea is not the joke. The idea is what lies beyond that joke. So if I spoke for 30 minutes and cracked 2 jokes, tell me, what did I do for the other 25 minutes?
I listened to a lot of your lectures, mashallah. You're explaining the concepts, the principles, and the joke is to draw them in, to keep it lighthearted. Allah, that's an art, ya Sheikh. A lot of people who don't do public speaking, they don't understand this art. You and I understand this art. And people pay big bucks to learn this art of how to engage the audience. Would you say most of your audience are young people?
I think so. But I think I've cut across the age divide. So I have old people, middle-aged people, young people, and very young, and children as well. In fact, I went into cartoons, I went into kids' content, I went into teenage programs, and then we've been into marriage and divorce, and then we went into taking care of parents, grandparents, and so on. So we've cut across the entire age spectrum.
Allah, Sheikh, I've seen it. I've seen kids approach you, giving you high fives, fist pumps.
And we give it back to them. So you got to speak to everyone on their level. حَدِّثُ النَّاسَ عَلَى قَدْرِ عُقُولِهِمْ أَوْ بِمَا يَعْرِفُونَ. I try my best to speak to everyone as per that advice, that, everyone on their level. So if there is someone generally practicing, they may not appreciate that we're actually aiming at the vast majority who are struggling to practice or not practicing, or sometimes not even Muslim. And a lot of people don't realize that. Those who are hardcore and they are very practicing, firstly, I don't expect them to listen to me. And if they do, I know that they just listen to a little snippet. A lot of the times they wouldn't understand what you've done. I studied in Medina Munawwara in 1991 onwards for a few years. And I can tell you that I was also very hard initially and rigid with what I learned and the way I wanted to do things. But when I got home, my father told me, sit and watch the people for a whole year. Don't go out and start talking to them until you see them for 1 whole year. So for a whole year, I was just sitting and watching, teaching little children Alif and Ba at this madrasa. And it was very humbling because I was bubbling and bursting with a lot, and ended up teaching at a madrasa adjacent to the masjid. I was leading the salawat, barely ever spoke to anyone, and so on. And then by the time I opened my mouth, I was already calm. I already saw that, you're trying to bring people into an ideal situation, and we're living in a non-ideal world. So it's really a beautiful experience to have had someone who's an expert in addressing people, discipline you and your own wishes at the same time, bringing the two together.
Yeah.